Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you are listening to this episode. My name is Will Baptist. I am your emotional health coach. Tonight, I'm here for another great episode as I am here every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't you ever change the channel. Don't you ever change the live. This is where we are right now. Who am I? Great. I'm glad that you asked that question. I am Will Baptist, and I serve single dads and busy husbands to get unstuck from emotional suppression, aka emotional constipation. And tonight we have a great show, and I'm telling you that because not just because I'm here, but because we have a great topic, and the person that's going to be with me tonight to discuss this topic is a very interesting person. So I want you to be able to have an open mind because we're going to be discussing stuff that you probably not too comfortable with. This is not to, you know, make you run away, but it's just to help you to understand, to keep an open mind what we're about to discuss tonight. And I have a great pleasure of meeting this person in person in Toronto about a month ago. And here we are tonight. We're talking about something that is near and dear to our heart. You will understand why I say near and dear to our heart. So we're bringing it to you live. We are on LinkedIn. We are on YouTube. Check out our LinkedIn, Will Baptist. Check out YouTube, Will to Rise. And I'm on Facebook. And yeah, check us out. So wherever you're listening from, and I would love to have you in the comment as well because I love to see people in the comment. We've got Dietrich from LinkedIn already here, and she's saying hello, good day from Pennsylvania. Thank you very much for being here. So I'm not gonna make you wait for too long. I'm gonna go ahead and dive in this great conversation tonight. But before I do that, I would like to let her introduce herself because I'm sure she can introduce herself better than I can. So without further ado, go ahead and give the mic back over to you,
Thank,
Nadia.
thank you, Will. Hi, everyone. My name is Nadia, also known as Self Love Diva. I help empaths reclaim self love and set boundaries in their relationships so that they can live authentically and unapologetically. So many of us have childhood wounds and trauma that result in coping mechanisms like people pleasing, which our relationships are directly affected. So I'm basically a holistic empowerment coach, and I help people reclaim self love.
All right, there you have it, folks. She helps people to reclaim the self-love and everything in between. All right, guys. So I know you guys have been waiting for this because I have posted this about a week ago, and a lot of you were sending me messages, wanted to know what is this about? What is this ghosting thing? What is this conflict resolution? And why is it a poison? I may add. Well, guess what? Because whichever way you slice it and dice it, it is what it is. So let's talk about this, Nadia. I like to put people in. I like to make put people in the context and why we decided to talk about this topic. I will go ahead and start because I'm the one who started this, right?
You did. You certainly started it, sir.
Right. I'm the one who started this. I'm the one that initially wanted to ghost you, and then being an emotional intelligent person, I said this is not the way you go about things that you may or may not fully understand. So the best thing to do is not to ghost the person. Worse, send them some kind of nasty messages. Is to talk to the person and figure out exactly where they're coming from, what was the thought or the intent behind the conversation or the post, and then get their side of the story. So just to put it in the context, guys, as we know, I mean, we've been programmed. Okay, it is a program, but nonetheless, I wanted to be mindful of International Men's Day. So I don't remember the date. I believe it was November 19th, if I'm not mistaken. And I wrote, happy International Men's Day. As you guys know, I am an emotional health coach. I primarily, or if not only, deal with men, single dads, and busy husbands. So I wanted to highlight men because men, I don't think, being a man, I don't think men are being, um, the light has been shed enough on them when it comes to the emotions, when it comes to the vulnerability, so on and so forth. And not to mention everything else that goes around when it comes to men. And I wanted to just take that day to highlight men. And my good friend here that almost did, almost not my friend anymore, posted Happy Mother's Day. And then she went on a whole list. Now, I was triggered, and I'm not gonna lie, I was triggered because I find it very distasteful, very insensitive, lack of empathy, and lack of a compassion for her to choose that day out of all days, right? And being a woman to say Happy Mother's Day and the day where I'm trying or bring shed light on men. So you could imagine how I felt. You could imagine how my blood was boiling hot, and I wanted to call her every name under the sun. Yes, yes, I know. Listen, I'm not holding it down. I had a lot of adjectives that I wanted to, um, yeah. And I said, you know what? What is the best course of action? And I started writing a text because I was just about to delete her from my friends. That's what ghosting. I was going to delete her, but before I did that, I wanted to send her a message to let her know how I felt about it, and I was going to delete her. And then I came down. I come down. I said, well, what is the best thing to do here? And I sent her a message. I say, something to that effect. Hello, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And then I did message her. I did put in a comment on emojis. And I think she kind of knew where I was coming from. So long story short, she say, and I say, can we talk? And she said, you know what? Yeah, can we do that? And I call her. And then 20 minutes later, 20 minutes to the conversation, I realized that I was about to make a mistake. A mistake because I was going to ghost her. I was going to delete her based on what she said without understanding where she was coming from. So the moral of the story is we have to take the time, especially as men, and the fact that we do not express our emotions in a way that is constructive. And I will talk about why men are expressing their emotions, uh, and I will prove it to you. And I came down and I say, you know what you did, this is how I feel. I was able to articulate how I felt. I was able to tell her how I feel about her. And she listened. She did not listen to react, but she to respond, but to understand. And then we were able to, at the end of the call, we were giving compliments and hugging because we finally was able to understand and resolve our conflict in a way that is healthy and without going back and forth with each other. So I have said a mouthful because I had a lot to say at the time. So we are good. The reason why we wanted to bring this to the forefront is because a lot of people, especially when it comes to social media, a lot of people behind their phone, behind their computer, they feel empowered. They feel like they can say whatever they want to whoever they want without repercussion, without any consequences. So tonight we want to bring that to the forefront because here we are, a living proof of how we can resolve conflict without ghosting, without deleting, without calling each other's name. And I think it was a testament of who we are as a person, of what we do, and the changes we want to bring to this world. So, Nadia, over to you. Hopefully, you can share the same story the same way. I don't know, but anyway, over to you.
Oh, I love this. I mean, that situation that happened, that day was, like you said, a testament to what we do and what we feel very strongly about. And the fact that you jokingly said, I just wanted to send her nasty messages, even though you were so angry at the time you could have. I prefer any nasty message over ghosting, first of all. Ghosting and making someone feel like they don't exist or they feel ignored is probably one of the worst feelings in the world. Indifference is worse than, just being upfront and honest, even if you're angry. And in no way did you show up angry like that. I mean, I think you really walked the talk. When you talk about, men's emotional health and vulnerability, I think that's exactly what you did. Like, yeah, you were angry. You didn't have context. You didn't know what was happening. And you were battling that in your own mind, but then you decided to show up and just be authentic with me. And I'm so glad. The screen keeps changing on me here. I'm getting confused. Yeah, so basically that's exactly what happened. And to give you all some context, I was telling Will, this is going to sound really funny, but I was called a misogynist and a feminist all in 1 week, which just goes to show you how unbiased I really am. So when I took that day, and also I'll have you guys know that I am all about critical thinking. I'm that rebel. I'm a free thinker. So when people tell us what we need to celebrate, grandparents' day or kids' day, son's day, daughter's day, siblings' day, I just feel like it's too much, right? So I just said, oh, it's International Men's Day. I'm going to celebrate Mother's Day instead. I was just being whatever, right? And then Will sees that and he got really upset because right away his autopilot response. Will, are you still there? Because I don't see you.
Yes, I'm still here. I just want to highlight you.
Oh, okay. So
Yes.
Will said, yeah. So when he was talking to me, he thought that I was, you know, antagonizing him and attacking his work, which is something that I would totally never do. I mean, I'm always loving on his posts. I'm always encouraging him. I love the work that he does. But his autopilot response was to say, oh, this is what you were doing. And we all go through that on a daily basis. We all have an autopilot response because our subconscious mind is in control. Our autopilot response is usually always connected to things that we've experienced since childhood. So if we've ever experienced not being seen or heard or validated, our autopilot response is to filter our experience through that experience, through our past experiences. Okay, so this is something that every single one of us do. Now, conscious living means that we use our breath as an anchor to come back to a place of calm, peace, and clarity, and come back to the present moment. And I think that, you all heard Will's story, the way he explained how, oh, I was so angry in the moment, but then I calmed down and I was thinking. He was thinking, critical thinking here, okay? And living in the present moment, and said, you know what? I am going to just approach her. No, it may not be comfortable. Yes, it might, end up in a blow up. He doesn't know what I'm going to say. He didn't know how awesome I really am. But it didn't matter to him. Why? Because he was walking the talk. Whatever he teaches or preaches, he's practicing. So for him, it didn't matter what the result would be. What he wanted to do was do the right thing. Right? Which was not ghosting me. So when he approached me and said, hey, I have a question for you about today's post, I knew that I was in trouble, you see? And I said, yeah, sure. And he was going to text something. And I said, why don't you give me a call? Because I too have that level of emotional intelligence that, hey, you know what? Let's talk about it on the phone. So you know how texting goes, right? So he gives me a call and he told me all of that, what he just said about it was distasteful and all that stuff. And yes, I heard him out and I explained that, you know me, I'm unbiased. And I'm a critical thinker. But I said, I understand. I understand why you're upset, and I understand why you think that way and feel that way. And I went on to explain how the reason I'm not upset with you, speaking to me and being upfront with me is because you're allowed to feel your feelings. I've had a lot of situations where I did what Will did, and I decided to um, practice authentic connections because it's my value. Authenticity is one of my strongest values. And when I'm connected to people, like, I want our relationship, friendship to be based on authenticity. And so I have done that. And the response that I got from people was gaslighting. And gaslighting, for those of you who are watching that don't know what it is, it's questioning your sanity and saying things like, oh, you're being too sensitive, or I didn't say that, or why do you feel that way? And invalidating the person for having the feelings that they're having. And that's not true emotional intelligence. What's important is to hear people out, to hold space for them, whether you agree with them or not. But again, our friend, the autopilot response, kicks in, and people get their backs up, and then they get defensive, and then it's me against you. And then when do we solve the problem? Because then it becomes me against you. So I was thinking all along, you're allowed to feel what you want, what you feel, and I'm going to hear you out and listen to you, and then I'm going to speak. And then we had a great conversation because Will was willing to listen.
Ah, I love that. I love that. I love that. Continue, continue. I'm loving it.
Will was willing to listen. And I said, listen, um, you think that way because you're filtering it through your own feelings, your own emotions, your own experiences, your own challenges, whatever it is, something that we all do. And so I said, but that's not the reality. I'm unbiased. And he said, yeah, I know, because I know you. I know you. I know you're not like that. And he said, I knew that it had to be because you're just a critical thinker. And your post was about critical thinking, and it was not to bash men because I know you. And I said, and yet your autopilot response kicked in and took over. And then he said, yeah, and you didn't even want to take it down. And I'll leave it to you for that one because I love how you explain it.
Yes. Now, this is the second part, and this is why I have so much respect. Now, I was mad for two reasons. I was mad. No, I was beyond mad because when you do that, especially knowing the work that I'm doing, I was mad. I was mad for two reasons. I was mad because I know who she is. How could you done that? And because I consider her as a friend, how could you do that? I felt it was a betrayal. And trust me, I don't deal well with betrayal. So, and so because she's my friend, that's why I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. Because had it been somebody else, I either would have deleted that person or just never even respond because this person don't even matter. And the reason why I did that is because I value what you do, I respect what you do, and for you to still do that, there had to be a reason. And I was willing, right? I was willing to hear you out. But I had a reservation. I'm like, at the end of her speech or her explanation, I may still consider um, not being friends with her, but I want to hear her out anyway. Now, here's where it got really tricky. Now, although I was mad, beyond mad, angry, my emotion almost got the best of me. And this is the reason why I teach men about emotional mastery, because it is so important. Although I'm teaching men how to express their emotion, because controlling your emotions and suppressing your emotions are two very different things, and we have to understand the difference, right? So although I was mad, I was furious, I was livid for what she did, I was even in more in awe for the fact that she did not want to take it down. Now you may say, well, that is contradictory. What are you talking about? You are mad for about the post that she posted, and then at the end of the call, you were glad that she didn't take it down. Yes, I was glad she didn't take it down, and I'm gonna tell you why. Well, first of all, she showed that she's got backbones, right? Number one. Number two, she took full responsibility and accountability for what she wrote. And number three, she put her foot down, because it wasn't because I was mad, and that was a me problem and not a you her problem. It was a me problem, and the fact that she didn't want to take it down, not because she didn't want to please me, but because of the intention behind it. Because I believe if she had taken it down, in my mind, I would have thought, okay, she did do it with an ill intention. Now that she sees that I'm mad and it make me feel this way, now she feels bad. She's gonna take it down. But she did not take it down because of the intent behind it. So I that was a smack in the face, so to speak. But at the same time, it was a learning opportunity for me, that if ever I do something or I post something, someone is mad at me or furious, to have the same grace as she did, and to allow me to explain myself, to let her know how I feel, even though I was very angry, but not being disrespectful. I was very angry, but still talk to her in a way as a human being, right? And even I did tell her you, right? I did tell you all the adjectives that I have in my mind, call you all kinds of names, which is not this is unlike me, but doesn't negate the fact that I still have the thoughts. Just because, see that again, critical thinking. We cannot stop ourselves from thinking thoughts, because my God, we've got about 20 to 40,000 thoughts a day. Imagine if we were just trying to stop every thought that come to our mind, we wouldn't be able to live, right? That's all we'd be doing. But because, first of all, I was respectful. My goal was not to disrespect her. My goal was not to belittle her. My goal was trying to understand. And I came to that conversation with the intent of understanding. And then that's what I did. So for me, at the end of the call, what I really found fascinating is the fact that you did not want to take it down, because you knew why you put it. And I'm glad. And I even say, girl, you got my step of approval, because you did not want to take it down, not because you didn't want to hurt me, but because it was not your intention to hurt me, because of who you are and what you believe in. And you're trying to help people to understand that we're living in a matrix and we have been programmed. So it was just another way to just kind of mess us up with the matrix and help us to understand this is that we have to be critical thinkers, and we have to be able to stand by what we believe in and what we stand for, regardless whether or not we're going against the grain, regardless of whether or not it's popular or unpopular. So for me, that was the beginning of a new level of respect, of a new level of admiration, because it showed me that there are still people that are willing to fight for what they believe in, regardless of what it might cost them, regardless whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, whatever it is, or even the business. But you held on to that. So that's the part that I really, really want to highlight tonight, to let people know, hey, listen. And here's the thing, and this is something that I truly believe. I may not always get it right, but I will always make it right.
Yes,
Because at the end of the day, I'm a human being, and I want people to know that have grace when you make mistakes. And thank God I did not go, past. Oh, I didn't go overboard, but I think it was a great lesson for both of us. And I like to know what it is that stood out to you the most about that conversation, and what would you like people to learn or to get from, you know, conflict resolution, and what's the benefits and what's the downfall, because we always look at the benefits of things but not thinking of the downfall.
So I am a huge advocate for conflict resolution, effective communication, and conflict resolution. This is emotional intelligence. And as we were talking about Will being willing to listen and to, approach me in a very emotionally intelligent way, walking the talk, and really, just doing this with a lot of grace himself. I wrote some notes down here while you were talking because I wanted to make sure that I got all the points here. You talked about, me having that backbone, and I too am walking the talk to what I coach on. This is what I do. I teach people to, show up authentically and unapologetically. So if I always have good intentions, which I do, people may misunderstand me. I may not get it right all the time, just like you said, Will, but I will always make it right. I will always do my part to make it right. But unapologetic living means that you are standing by what you believe in. You're standing your ground because you don't have bad intentions. You always practice integrity. And the moment that you approached me on this, I'm very intuitive. So I didn't feel that you did this to attack me, even though you were angry. There's a difference. It's okay for people to be angry, but it's not okay for people to attack you, even energetically. And I'm an empath and I'm very, very intuitive. So I felt safe in this connection. I felt safe in this communication, even though you were angry. And that's a skill. That's a skill. So I'm not surprised that you're an emotional health coach, or that I'm a coach that teaches unapologetic living. Another thing that I was, so the work that we do, that kind of addresses that. And the betrayal, I know that you said you felt betrayed, and I have been betrayed all my life. And this is why I have good intentions, because I know how that feels. So that was totally not a part of it. But just to answer your question about what are the pros and cons of conflict resolution? Well, you said it, right? That you were going to ghost me and cut me off. And the thing is, I didn't worry about what the result would be. All I know is that I have to be grounded in myself. I have to be unapologetic about me. And I know my intentions were not bad. And I'm going to totally give you that space, hold that space, give you that love, and just be who I am. And then whatever happens after that, I don't operate from fear, which is why I didn't say, oh my God, like, will you approve of me? Will you accept me? Will you validate me? I will take it down. I don't operate that way. And I think that if you had said, okay, sorry, I can't be your friend, girl, whatever, right? That would just mean that the universe doesn't want us to be connected. Your vibe attracts your tribe. Your job is not to be liked, it's to be authentically you. And so if you're practicing integrity and somebody misunderstands you and you try to resolve it and it doesn't work out, it just means that you're not aligned energetically. So there's never anything to fear if you're in a conflict with someone and you would like to resolve the conflict. However, I do say this, I'm not vulnerable with everybody that comes my way. Like if somebody does something to upset me, like I did to Will, he practiced emotional intelligence and came and approached me on that. I would do it for everybody until that person has given me a reason to believe that I can't trust them with my vulnerability. Then I won't do it. I'll be like, sorry, you messed up last time, and I'm not going to be vulnerable with you this time because this is not a safe space. Right? But we didn't have that history with each other. So he probably didn't think that way. And the only con I would see is that it backfires in your face where the person gaslights you and you try to say, hey, I would like to talk to you about this. And they kind of step on you for that, or make you question your sanity, or tell you that you're too sensitive, or say that, I didn't do that, and not hold space for you. That's when it can go, sideways. But is that a bad thing? It's not a bad thing, because then you realize that person is not for you. And I've lost some people in my life that way, and it's not a loss. Because again, I'll say, your job is not to be liked. It is to be authentically you. And that's it.
I love that. And as you were talking, it it also solidify and reminds me the reason why we are doing this, because Again, it shows. But first of all, it was about a week ago. We did take care of that, but also we are able now, upon reflecting on what happened, it gives us that much strength, and also helps us to be able to move forward, and also what it does is strengthen us as individual, right? Because we're gonna go through stuff, but how many of us are gonna grow through it? Because we will go through stuff, but whether or not you grow through it, that is individual. That is each person. And I remember what Les Brown said one time. He was having some bad days, and his mentor asked him, how's your day? He said, oh, I'm having a bad day. And his mentor corrected him. He said, no, you're having a character building day. And a lot of things, and that's what it is, because we can take we can take a day and we can slice it and dice it in different ways. And at the end of the day, are we able to see the lesson and the growth in it? Now, the same question that I asked you, and I was just writing some notes there, and in regards to the pros and cons, and I believe the pros, of a conflict resolution includes improved relationships. It does. It does strengthen it. It increase understanding and empathy. Hello, and the potential for creative problem solving. My God, that is loaded. Let me repeat that. Improve relationships, because when you ghost someone, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So when you ghost someone, are you going to spend the rest of your life ghosting people? Or you're gonna have some level of emotional intelligence. You know what? How about if I have a discussion with that person? So it lets people know also you have no control over yourself, because you don't trust yourself enough to have a conversation with someone without being angry, without being disrespectful, without raising your tone of voice, and without using derogatory words towards that person, and an increased understanding. My God, did it increase my understanding, because the fact that I was willing to talk to you, knowing in my mind I had already a predisposition of what's going to happen, because I in my mind at the end of the call there's no way that we're going to talk again. And also increase empathy and the potential for creative problem solving, so which means the next time, not if, but when something to that effect happen again. The reason why I say if, not when, is not if, because it will happen. Why? Because we're human beings. Why? Because we're gonna have bad days. Why? Because sometimes we're gonna speak too fast. So that's why I believe. So now, when that happens, it's going to help us to create a problem solving. Now, here's the cons: time and effort required. Well, I had to stop something, and I think I was responding to someone that DM me about a service, and I stumbled upon that post, and I had to stop, and I read it, and I was angry, and I had to take the time to text you, and then we ended up spending about half an hour on the phone. That is time that is required and the effort, and it was time well spent. Um, Also the potential for unresolved issue. So it could have gone sideways, as you mentioned. And that's the reason why a lot of people ghost people, because they don't want to confront, they want to run away from it. And the possibility of not reaching a satisfactory resolution for all parties involved. But in our case, it wasn't, oh, I will agree. This is me years ago. I'll just agree to disagree. I'll just be the people pleaser. But where the has that got me? Nowhere. So those are the notes that I wrote in regards to pros and cons. And I believe that by us being able to have this conversation, and life will give us opportunities again to be able to resolve more conflicts, because it's just like going to the gym. You go to the gym, you may feel weak, right? You go to the gym, you may not be able to push 100 pounds. But I can guarantee you, by the time a year come around, you'll be able to push to 100 pounds. So I think what it did for at least for me, I can only speak for myself. I can speak for you, but what it did for me, it helped me to understand that when there's a conflict, how to resolve it in a way that is conducive. And if that person is not willing to engage in a conversation that is productive, how I can excuse myself. That's what it does for me. That's what it represents for me. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. And conscious living, this is what it means, right? The definition of insanity we know is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And you were saying well, that didn't work for me. So let me try something different. And this was you living consciously. All of the pros and cons, it's so true that when you have a conflict with a friend or family member, you can see if your connection has legs to stand on, if you can resolve the conflict effectively and you're still connected in a positive manner. So it grows our soul. I always say I like it when it's my fault in a conflict, because then I'm in the driver's seat of my life and I can make it better. I can do better. But a lot of times when I've not been at fault in a certain way, it's difficult for me to resolve that because I can't do anything about it. But I definitely think that it grows our soul. It's easy to walk away. It's easy to just say, well, screw you. I don't want to talk to you. You're just whatever. You were rude, and not really knowing the whole story and just being at the mercy of our autopilot response, which is actually not a healthy place. Our autopilot response is not always a healthy thing because it's influenced by our experiences when we were way too young to even remember, right? Because when we're children, we're operating on slower brainwave states, making us highly suggestible. Like, how they
Mm,
say that kids are like sponges,
right?
right?
Mm-hmm.
We internalize a lot of things before the age of 7. Think about how many things happen to you. You might be playing a game with a friend in kindergarten when you're 4 years old, and you win the game, and your friend gets mad at you and stops talking to you. You
Mm.
develop and internalize a belief that says it's not safe to succeed.
Oof.
And then not knowing that, you live your entire life like that. Or what if your parents never were a bit too busy for you to spend time with you, but then you got your report card and it was really good, and they were on that like white on rice, they were just like, hey, celebrating you. Then you internalize a belief that says, well, I'm only worthy when I succeed. And that is when we have all these high achievers. They're not doing well in their relationships at home, but they're doing really well in their careers. So
Ooh. Oh my God. I'm sorry, but I had to stop you on this one because I made a video somewhat similar to what you just said. And based on study has done and some of the men that I have talked to, 90% of men, and I can't say for women because they didn't do the study on the women, 90% of men that are high achievers, career driven men, successful men with high status, we'll call them a high functioning men. 90% of them are operating from a place, not a place of contentment or fulfillment, from a place of masking the trauma and not wanting to deal with it. So therefore, they fuel that into the career. And they are very successful on papers. They are very successful in the eyes of everybody else. But they are a train wreck when it comes to being a parent, that when it comes to being you know, uh, a partner, because a lot of men unfortunately internalize their emotions, not wanting to deal with it. So therefore, they use that to excel and to be great at what they do, but being poorly when it comes to relationship. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate that it's so high. 90%, that's a lot of men that are operating. Well, those are the men, those are the policymakers. Those are the ones that are in charge of making a lot of critical decisions, but yet they are not being emotionally intelligent. Yet they are not in tune with their emotions and who they are. This is absolutely great. Now I want to go back to something that you said. I want you kind of, yeah, you did dive in that, but I think this is the first time I've ever heard that someone ever said, "I love it when it's my fault and a conflict." Now, to me, it sounds very. It's got a negative connotation. When I heard it, I'm like, I don't know if I would like to hear that from a client of mine. That it is, I love it because there are some people that use that as a way to manipulate people, right? Oh,
Mhm.
everything is their fault. Just like people have a way of, they call it toxic positivity. Everything is positive. Everything is positive. I don't know if that's true. So help me
I feel
understand.
I
Help
feel
me
out of
understand that.
control. So if somebody does something to hurt me, for example, and there's no way around it because they're not taking that responsibility, I can't do anything about the connection because they did
Mm,
something. They're not willing to take responsibility for it. It's not in my hands. I'm
right.
not in the driver's seat of the connection. I just have to simply go along with it and say, you know what? I don't feel safe with you. I know what you're capable of doing now. So I'm not in the driver's seat of this connection and it's over. And I don't like that because I can't do anything about it. At least if I screwed up and I'm like, oh, I said something to you that was, rude. I'm sorry. I was having a bad day. I wasn't thinking about it. I said something. I'm so sorry. I'm in the driver's seat. I can do something about it,
Right.
you know?
Okay, I understand that. Now, because you're in the driver's seat, you get to decide where and how you're going to drive the conversation.
I can do something about fixing it.
You can do something about fixing it. Now, would you say that could apply in other type of conversation if it's not if it has not if it doesn't have anything to do with conflict resolution? Let's just say in a regular conversation, would you say that's something that you would like also to to say that it is your fault? And for an example, let's just say that you're in a relationship or any type of relationship, something were to happen, it is not your fault, but would you say that you would take that responsibility so that way you can cross correct what happened? That's not what you're saying.
Oh, do you think I would do
I don't
that?
think you would, and that's the reason why I wanted to make sure that
No, no,
not just for
no,
me
no,
but our audience understand what you're saying.
that like just gives me like shivers. Like I'm an empowerment coach. I'm an advocate for unapologetic and authentic living. So no, I will not. I'm not a doormat or a people
Mm,
pleaser. I do not operate from those coping mechanisms anymore. Even when I wouldn't say that, oh, it's sorry, it's my fault and stuff like that. That was never a thing for me. I was always a believer of what's right is right and what's wrong is wrong, and I was always an advocate for authentic living. And so, no, absolutely not. And I am that. I'm first to say that I hate toxic gratitude. I hate toxic positivity. I hate emotional bypassing and I hate spiritual bypassing. I'm all about like being real. So the
what do you
answer
mean by spiritual bypassing?
spiritual bypassing. So one day, I was a part of the spiritual community, right? So I made some connections, and one girl calls me on the phone and she's like, how are you doing? And stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I'm having a shitty day actually, or whatever, something like that. And she's like, oh, you can't say that. Just be positive and just like, and I'm just like, yo, like I'm all about being real. You can, it's okay to own your feelings and to feel your feelings. And I feel like spiritual bypassing, the people that do that they put too much of an emphasis on positivity and being too perfect. And in doing so, has the opposite effect. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And a
Yes.
of humanity is anger, is frustration, is sadness, is despair. We are going to feel these feelings. And I'm a really positive person, okay? But I'm going to tell you, I feel my feelings. I feel my triggers. I allow myself and others to feel their feelings. I allow myself and others to make mistakes.
Mm.
I do not hold myself at these high standards that says, I'm always going to be perfect. I'm always going to be right. I'm always going to be sunshine and rainbows. No, that's not how it works. That's why I'm able to be a good person, have good intentions, have a good heart, is because I feel my feelings. Our feelings are our messengers. It tells us something. When you got mad at me that day, it told you something, right? It teaches us things. We are supposed to feel our feelings. And anyone that is in our life that does not hold space for us to feel our feelings, well, they don't need to be in our life.
I agree. I agree. Now let's move on to something that we do also have in common. And I didn't know. I barely knew you at the time, but you say something. You said when you saw that, you'd be like, "Oh my God, he does the same thing." Let's talk about the AAA. I call it the AAA effect. I don't know what name you had for it, but I call it the AAA effect. And anybody who's been watching me or who's been following me for any length of time, and no, I'm not talking about your roadside assistant coverage plan. That's not the AAA. And for my American friends who are listening, that's not the AAA I'm talking about. I'm talking about the AAA, which is the awareness, acceptance, and action. And I'm just gonna kind of let people know what it represents to me and how I use that, and then you can speak on that for a little bit. For me, awareness is really about knowing who you are, and I hear this word, so much. I think kind of it's kind of losing its real meaning and essence, and that is authenticity. But I do believe when you're aware of who you are, you can actually show up authentically, right? And Socrates says the knowing thyself is the beginning of wisdom. And I believe the more we know who we are, the more we're going to be able to set boundaries, the more we're going to be able to show up as who we are, and the more we're going to be able to be centered and know who we are and how we operate, right? Because awareness also help you to be in the moment, in the present moment. And the second A, which is acceptance, accepting the fact that there are things in life that did happen to you that you can't do anything about. They are in the past. And you have to accept the fact that you cannot control everything. And if you try to control everything, you lose control over the thing that you can control. So there's a difference between tolerance and acceptance. You can't tolerate yourself being lazy. That's not acceptance. This is being tolerant. There's a difference. But you can accept the fact that you are who you are. I have to accept the fact that I was born in a country that I had no choice over. I didn't have a choice in the family that I was born in. I didn't have a choice in the school that I went to. So those are the things that I have to accept. And last but not least is to take action. Action for me looks like this: is to do for myself what I would want somebody else to do for me. So action means what decision am I going to make today, and how's that decision is going to either fuel my fear or fuel my dreams. So this is for me the AAA, and I believe there's a funny story about the AAA because he has something similar to that as well. So why don't you go ahead and tell us about that?
So, quite a few years ago, I think it was like 5, 6, 7 years ago, when I was thinking about going into this, I thought, what have I been doing for my students and some of the parents and educators all these years when I was helping them? And I said, well, it starts off with awareness. I've really facilitated a lot of self awareness. And then I took them through self love, acceptance. Acceptance is self love for my pillars. And then the last part is action, stepping out of our comfort zone, setting the goals. It's all the neuroscience, creating the new neural pathways in the brain and new habits. So my coaching program is very holistic in nature. So it starts out with all of the awareness, the beliefs, the values, the identity. What do you really want? The clarity. It's all the awareness, knowing who you are, what you want, who you want to be. The next part is acceptance, self-love. And the next part is wiring all of that in. So it's really unleashing the power of the quantum field, the subconscious mind, and the brain. So yeah, it's really fascinating, because when I heard you say that last year, I was like, oh my God, awareness, acceptance, action. And I just
Yes.
They're like we're so aligned.
Yeah, for me, I wrote about it in my book because that's what got me here, and I think that's what's gonna continue to help me as I continue on my healing journey. And somebody said, "Well, if you're still on your healing journey, how can you help others?" I'm like,
I have something to say about that. Okay, that is crazy. Okay, because first of all, it is a journey. There is no destination. There's definitely no destination. We are always learning, we are always growing, we are always evolving. And we use the word healing for lack of a better word. We're not broken, right? When we have that as our identity, this is why we stay stuck. We are all every moment is a new moment to learn and to grow and to be conscious. And hey, there's a lot of people who are helping or and are successful at helping other people when they still need a lot of help themselves, because they really just need to be one step ahead of the other people, of who they're helping. They have to be one step ahead. I can say that a lot of I didn't know this was going to happen, but a lot of my clients are entrepreneurs. And I basically have up to now have worn every hat that an entrepreneur can wear. You know, sales and marketing, IT, bookkeeping, accounting, like everything, right? Um, and now I'm helping people with their entrepreneurship in business. And I'm like, listen, I can coach you through this. I've created workbooks, but just to let you know, I'm only one step ahead of you. I tell them the truth. In business,
wow.
I'm yeah, like that's not what I do. I coach mental health, self-love, empowerment. I'm not a business coach, but I tell them I can definitely coach you through this. I have all the stuff that I created on my own from what I've learned and grew, but I am only one step ahead of you.
Wow, wow. That is so great. And here's what I said. I mean, it's pretty much the same way. And I say, listen, I know where you are, and I've been there, and I'm just
Yes.
further along the way. So all I'm doing is reaching back. And if some reason, I said, it's not because you will never catch up to me, but that's because I will never stop. Just because I'm bringing you along doesn't mean I'm stopping. So it was fascinating to me when that young lady said, "Well, you sit on your healing journey and you're trying to help people." Yeah, that's because I'm already ahead. So I know the pitfalls. I know what's about to happen because I've seen it. So therefore, I can give you a helping hand to say it's so. I don't know where they were coming from and if they were trying to, I don't know. Something was off of for that person to say that, but I find it. I just wanted to get your intake on that as when people say, because for me healing is it's like it's a layer of onions, right? Every time that you peel one layer and there's another layer, the thing that you is the only difference is the thing that you choose to trigger me don't trigger me anymore or don't trigger me as much. And now I have better awareness of when that happened to make sure to have a coping mechanism to be able to deal with it. But I'm still a human being and I'm still going through some every day in my life. I'm just better equipped to
Oh
be able
yeah,
to go through it.
there are people that don't have the trauma that we have endured. And I don't know how they can help people if they haven't gone through it. Because sometimes people will say to
Ooh,
me, right? They say, "Are you a registered therapist?
ooh,
Why would that make me better at what I do?"
ooh.
Like I say I have a PhD in life. I have a PhD in life, okay? So, and if you have to ask me that, you are not the right one for me, the right client, because people intuitively know that I know my shit intuitively. And yeah, that's how I see it. And also, yeah, like you're walking the talk. So it
and
doesn't
and,
matter.
and yeah, and I don't want to take anything away from people with a PhD or DHD or whatever D they have behind their names. But I'm just someone that just been through the ringer. I've been through hell and back. And I just think that those are the people that are looking for people that been through the mud, that survive. Those are my kind of tribe. If you're looking for someone with,
Right. That's right.
yeah, if you're looking for someone with the PhD and with an office where he's gonna charge you, $300 an hour because they have a corner office, by all means, go for it. And if they can help you, as long as you're getting the help, go for it. But do not tell somebody else because they don't have the accreditation or the all these accolades that they cannot help you. You'll be surprised. And those people are some of the best people to help you because they've been through it. Not
I'll tell
just,
you something. When I went to school for my 3-year program, all my courses were around psychology and counseling. When I graduated and I got the job at the school board, I became an observer, and I connected to my inner self and my intuition, and I did the opposite of what I was
mm,
taught, because I was filtering everything through self-love and empowerment, and I didn't like what I was seeing. So
mm,
education shapes your perspective, taking away the ability to be a critical thinker. It's easy to go to school and go to your classes and take your tests and do your assignments and be a robot and get, conditioned. And it's harder to really practice critical thinking and to question things. And yeah, I'm sorry, like you were
because
polite.
you've been conditioned to think a certain way. You've been conditioned to do, it's like a cookie cutter, right? Oh,
Yeah,
this is what you have. Okay, let me go to the book, my book. Okay, page 52.
yes,
Number three.
absolutely.
Ah, there we go. Boom. That's what you, without any type of understanding of that person, of the culture, of the person environment, of the upbringing. None of that. It's just take it, anyway. I mean, we could go on and on and on.
Now, you could see doctors who are not healthy and they're overweight. They don't take care of themselves. But people will never question a doctor. They'll just go to the doctor. Your health is in their hands. They're not even taking care of themselves. Most doctors are not even healthy. It's all about the books. Go to school, take your test, get your degree. I'm credible. Everyone respects me because it's on paper. You see why I hate the way things work in the world, and I'm that rebel who puts it out there.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I mean, I could go back to someone that was the an official, and he wasn't a health official, and his weight made the headline, and he was appointed as a health minister, but his weight was like way overboard. So it's just to show you that a lot of times people are not using their critical thinking, as you said. They just go by what's been on paper. So listen, it's already been an hour. We've been talking nonstop. This has been a great conversation, and so many people are listening, especially on LinkedIn, um, and have been enjoying the conversation. Some people I say great conversation. I just want to read a few comments that were made on LinkedIn. Let me see here. Oh my gosh, yes. I've got Reginald that says fire discussion, fuel or put it out. And I wrote a little bit of both. Nisa says great discussion. I've got David says not everyone until will understand us. I am positive most days, but I have off days and let off steam or vent. It's not my fault if others take offense. Nisa said holistic living, honoring your whole bright mind, body, soul, and spirit. Feelings are part of the experience and are great data, not just always great directors. So much, my God. I mean, we got people in UK are listening to us. Life is the lesson, face death, and this will become apparent. Oh my goodness. So listen, apparently this has been a great discussion. A lot of people are taking some notes and enjoying the conversation. I'm glad that we're able to bring, even though it's not a popular conversation, because I've never seen anybody talk about ghosting or conflict resolution to that degree and that deep. People will write posts, a few lines, But tonight we really delve into it in a way because we brought something that was real, something that did happen to us, right? Or should say for us. Now we're able, and this is what I love about what we do. We can actually bring live examples of what we've gone through and explain to people how we were able to overcome it. And because of that, we're becoming a much better person. So I really appreciate that. So as we close out, why don't you go ahead and let people know exactly what you do? Take a few minutes because some people that are coming in late didn't get a chance to hear what you do and how they can get in contact with you, so on and so forth. So go ahead and take the time and let people know where they can find you, what you do, and how to get a hold of you.
Yes, thank you, Will. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening. And if you're just coming in, hello, I'm Nadia, also known as Self Love Diva. And I help you love yourself. I help empaths reclaim self love so that they can really show up to their relationships authentically and unapologetically and set boundaries with people. So that's me in a nutshell. You can find me at bravezone.ca. That's my website. Or Instagram is selflovediva.bravezone. And it was my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, Will. This was
Yes,
great.
absolutely. Well, thank you for accepting because we did do a live, but we didn't think the live would be enough. So we decided to do another live now on three platforms to make sure that we're really, really driving this message home for people to understand that, conflict, ghosting or conflict resolution is not, ghosting is not the answer, and conflict resolution doesn't have to be monumental, it doesn't have to be scary. You can actually go into it and making sure that you come out of it, stronger and more open minded. So for me, in I always end with these questions: who do you know suffers from emotional suppression? Who do you know suffer emotionally on a monthly, weekly, or daily basis? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how emotionally stable are they? What if I could help them unstuck emotionally just by 1% every week? And that is 50% more stable in 1 year. That's 50% more present, 52% more peaceful, more productive, more loving, more caring. And do you think they are worth this investment? And do you think they owe that to themselves? Again, my name is Will Baptiste, also known as the Haitian Sensation. I serve single dads and busy husbands to get unstuck from emotional suppression, aka emotional constipation. So I want to invite you to book a free 30-minute call to help you begin to experience emotional liberation. And also, don't forget, my book is now on Amazon. It is available. It's called The Will to Rise: How to Face Adversity. And you can DM me on IG or on Facebook, the word emotions, and I'll be more than happy to get to get in contact with you, to get on the call and figure out exactly why we all emotionally suppress, oppress, and repress, and how to get you to experience emotional liberation and ultimately to experience emotional mastery. It's been great. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're all here with us, and we do appreciate your time because we know your time is valuable. So we're going to continue bringing you thought-provoking topics. We definitely want you to get engaged with us, whether during the live or afterwards. We'd love to answer any questions. We will be available to answer any question that you may have, whether from me or Nadia. It doesn't really matter. If we can answer your questions, we'll be more than happy because our goal is to help you to be enlightened. Our goal is to help you to get from where you are to where you desire to be. Once again, this is Will, and I will be back again next Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be on the lookout for the next topic, which I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but I'm going to let it come to me. Until then, be good to yourself, be kind to yourself. And remember, everyone has a will and the ability to rise. Therefore, let us all rise together. See ya.